is I actually just woke up in the ball pit of a Chuck E. Cheese. So Tree Fort got a little out of hand last year, is what I'm saying.
Wow. Hey, this is Nino from the Boise Hive podcast. Very excited to be here today. I am joined in the studio with a couple rad people. I have Alex Gamble, who is my engineer, executive producer, and co host. Alex, can you say hi?
I was embarrassed to say the least.
Oh, I'm sure you were. Um, you always find yourselves in these weird situations. And we need to hang out more often outside the studio. I need to experience this.
It's dangerous.
I also have Ashley Betz in the studio, who's going to talk to us a lot about what she does in the community. Can you say hi, Ashley?
Hello, everyone.
Wow, you sound so great. So, I is going to start the show like we always do, talking about the Hive mission, which is to prevent suicide within the local music community. We also branch out into just basically the community in general, and we have a number of different events and programs that happen throughout the week that we're going to talk about too. On Tuesdays, we have Life Recovery 12 to 1:30. We also have our Live at the Hive replays on Tuesdays, 3 to 4 on Tropico FM. And what that is a radio replay of our live concerts that we have here on Saturday. So it's really cool. And the last Tuesday of every month, we have our musicians meeting, and this is just kind of a random meeting of musicians that takes place here, to where you can network, you can plan some shows, maybe some collaborations, get some tips on exposure and stuff like that. It's a really cool event. And again, that's on the last Tuesday of every month. Wednesdays we have Sober Curious 6 to 7:30, and on the last Wednesdays of every month we have our famous open mic 6 to 8. And we challenge anyone, doesn't matter what type of instrument, what type of act you are, poetry, spoken word, whatever it is, come on down and we'll get you on stage. Thursdays we have our hip hop night, which is 6 to 10. Fridays we have our Vets Jam It Out. It's kind of an acoustic vibe from 6 to 9. You don't necessarily have to be a vet to be involved in that jam either, or you don't necessarily have to play an acoustic. So it's really a cool eclectic vibe there too. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. As you can see, we have a lot of cool things that we have here throughout the week. So if you ever get a chance, please stop by, check us out. We'll jump right into our next segment, which is going to be our band feature of the day. This song is called High Steppin' from Sigs Inside. You can find Sigs Inside on linktree/Sigs Inside. And here we go. This song is called High Steppin'.
I'm gonna be, I got a buzz, get my ear, show you a buzz. I'm gonna be, I got a buzz, get my ear, show you a buzz. And you know it's hard for me, baby, you're a part of me. Yeah, it's hard for me, baby, you're a part of me. Look, high stepping like a nigga do. That my honey, that my Winnie Pooh. That my baby, that my beauty boo. So why she tripping off the thing I do? She could break down. Shawty needs some space, it's a shakedown. I don't want to my place, keep it straight.
All right, once again, that is our local feature, Sigs Inside with High Steppin'. You can find them on linktree.com/Sigs Inside. So, again, I am joined in the studio with Ashley Betz, who is a anxiety and kind of a panic and trauma specialist, and we'll bring her into the show right now. Ashley, can you say hi again?
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to have you too. I'm glad we were able to connect and get you on this show. And tell me a little bit more about like what you do within our local community.
So, within our community, I own and operate a private practice called Mindspace, where I focus on working with people specifically who come into my office related to panic and anxiety experiences. And through that, I get to work with people who have experienced a lot of trauma and other really challenging things in their life.
And that's wonderful, and we appreciate everything that you're doing. And you were also mentioning that within those sessions, you focus a lot on suicide ideation. Is that correct?
Yeah, suicide is a topic that comes up a lot, and a a lot of people think maybe it is seasonally related, which, yes, there can be an uptick, but this is a topic that I talk about throughout the year with people.
It's interesting that you talk about this seasonally related because I come from a far away, much warmer land. And one of the things that was identified in my personal sessions was that I was probably vitamin deficient, which didn't actually come up until I had a blood work done. And then they could tell me, no, this is what's happening. So I was able to get some supplements for that. And I got one of those lights that you put up in your room that like give you that. And I don't know if it helped or not, but like I just do whatever they say, and it definitely made me feel better. But it's funny that you say that because they were saying that it gets worse within the wintertime because you're inside more, especially if we have a heavy winter, especially if you have put yourself in a situation where you just moved here and you've never experienced winter before. But it's funny that you kind of say seasonal. I think the seasonal comes up for a number of different things, but especially in the wintertime, it came up in my sessions for sure.
Yeah. Well, you say you do what they tell you to do, which in my head I go, good patient, great patient to have. But another, just to give a little bit on that, is something that I've been really noticing is that more darkness equals more melatonin. And a lot of times we experience that actually good melatonin production, which puts us in a lower state, which can contribute or even sometimes be misinterpreted as
Sure.
depression. So that is gives you a little snapshot of how I work with things in my office.
Sure.
And I think it's great that you had someone who asked you to go get labs instead of just assuming, because at least in my training, we're trained to factor in or out physical symptoms
Sure.
before you go blaming your brain.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was like within session 2, they were like, "We're not going to do anything with you." And so we have labs and we know a little bit more about what's going on. They're like, "We want to weigh you, we want to monitor these types of things, and then once we know who you are, give us a month to assess you, then we'll start figuring out like what direction." And that's another reason why I started feeling comfortable with this last place I was going to, because they took a little bit more of you know, a science meets like a laid back approach. It was like a hybrid, and it really worked for me. I encourage everyone out there to definitely, if you're not feeling comfortable within the space that you're in as far as therapy goes, to make those decisions, those tough decisions sometimes, to move to a different facility and stuff like that. It took me a few, and a lot of the people that even we've talked to on this show that experience the benefits of therapy, rarely is it the first place that you went to. There's almost this common denominator of this evolution that if you're really truly seeking it, you're gonna find it. And chances are it might not be with that first person, but there's still value in that process of being okay with starting it. Let's find someone, let's talk to them, and then let's now tailor it to something that you need, which I'm big on, is making sure that you're talking to the right person.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about this yoga stuff that you do.
So, in addition to being a mental health practitioner, I'm also a certified Kundalini yoga teacher, although my teaching in the community has been very limited. However, maybe some workshops will come out later in the year, so I'm excited for that. It's a practice that takes a lot of practice by the practitioner, because when you are leading a class, you're actually not doing the exercise with the yoga students. You're holding space for them, you're encouraging, and it's a lot of mental energy that goes out. The positions and postures and breath work piece of it are very challenging. So it speaks to a lot of different communities and a lot of different ways within the mental health arena. And as a mental health practitioner, the reason I actually went and got certified in that is because we don't do any prescribing. We're not medical level practitioners. I can prescribe breath work.
And can you elaborate on what breath work is for some of our listeners that might not be familiar with that?
Absolutely. So in the Kundalini yoga world, that consists of specific eye gaze, breath patterns, maybe positions you're holding your arms or hands in. Breath work consists of getting your body into a state where you can actually work on your nervous system using different patterns of breath.
Yeah, this is wonderful, and I can absolutely see the therapeutic nature of breath work, especially after you explain it. Now, when we were talking before, you were saying that a lot of the scope of what you do within your business deals with addiction. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, primarily my background, but that does not mean that I don't see different forms of that within my practice now. However, yeah, my training is definitely in addiction. I've worked in different outpatient facilities as well as a methadone clinic in my history, did a lot of hours there. And that's also, that population pairs well with the Kundalini yoga we have found and is are scientifically finding.
That's wonderful, and again, we appreciate all the work you're doing. Now, I've been for the last month. I've kind of been watching your Instagram, kind of finding out what we're going to talk about, and getting some type of takeaway from the social media presence that you have, which is absolutely wonderful. If and sorry, the Instagram is instagram.com/mindspace Ashley, but is it mind.space.ashley?
Yep. And the word space is spelled out.
Okay. Yeah. So if you, I would recommend checking it out. But I just get this huge positive vibe from it, and a lot of it is using affirmations and stuff like that. I really got into it. I've been talking to myself in the morning a little bit, trying to be a little bit more kind to myself. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of positive affirmation and being kind to yourself?
Absolutely. I think a big premise of my practice is based on acceptance of what's going on, as hard as that might be. And it's really hard to tell someone to just accept. Some people can do it, but a lot of people I find are like, well, how? Right? And there's research out there that shows that when we are thinking in a negative space, the parts of our brain that allow us to be curious shut down. The parts of our brain that allow us to be creative, hello musicians, shut down. So it's really important as a first step to figure out how can I be a little bit kinder to myself. And maybe that doesn't mean we start out as being super positive, but can we get to a space of being neutral?
And can you just give us like a few examples of what you can do to like start being positive to yourself? That might be an easy way to transition into a different mind space.
Absolutely. A nice one. Well, as we were talking earlier, I mean, you had a great idea, pairing. So there's a lot of things a lot of us do every day. Hopefully, we brush our teeth at least once. And so, as we're brushing our teeth, bringing up the example of, I'm awesome. I'm ready to have a good day. This feels good to take care of myself and brush my teeth. Look at me. And just starting to notice yourself in a different light for what you're doing rather than maybe the constant ways you're thinking about yourself.
Yeah, and it's actually I've honestly been trying this, and it doesn't. I don't say this out loud, and to me it's like more of like a thought process that I have. But I think in the morning when I've been getting up, I've been using it obviously as my start of my day. So I think it's a very important time to start being positive with yourself. But it's something that I've never done before until recently. Is just having a quick little thought that like, hey, you're up, you're awake, you're feeling good today, you're getting set up for the day. Like today is going to be a good day. You know, it's just kind of like where I've personally been leaving it. And I do think it set me up a little bit for success because it's on my mind. I've put it on my mind now instead of waiting for it to happen, which might not in my personal experience. So it's kind of like, you know, I find there's a lot of power. Like I always tell my wife that like sickness starts in the mind.
Mhm.
Like, and I was like, and the mind has a crazy way of fixing sickness that we're just now starting to find out. And I was telling her like, I'm just trying to go on like this positive streak to where like I'm not trying to be negative, especially in the mornings. I'm just trying to be as positive as possible. I think my kids are starting to feel it. They're starting to be like, oh wow, like he's making a point to it. And it's not just like having a smile on my face. I've been trying to be upbeat, positive in the morning around the house, and just beam it, not just think it. You know, it's one thing to
Right.
think it in your head, but I'm trying to also have like my family start like, you know, reaping the benefits too.
Yeah, be it. And there's so many different people I'm thinking about as you say that, but specifically Dr. Joe Dispenza has an interview out where he talks about literally the way we think. He gives a trail of thought how that actually turns into our personality.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a behavior practiced over time. What do you want to practice? And
Hmm.
the maybe the positivity that you pick up from my account is also, it's very important for me to empower people and let them know, hey, you might be stuck here, and that's okay. And at the same time, this is what's normal. This is what's maybe the challenge, and here's what you can do about it, because you can change your mind. And yes, that looks different for everyone depending on chemically what's going on inside of us. you still get the option to choose how you look at it. And
Yeah.
and that's a challenge. It's not easy. I'm not saying it is. It's also an option.
Oh, absolutely. And something else that, as a byproduct, that I've finding out in my personal experience is also being honest with myself. Like, there's gonna be some of those days to like you were saying, you're waking up, you're brushing your teeth, where you don't feel good, and you're not having the greatest day. And maybe
Right.
that's not the right time to, for me in my personal experience, to start thinking that way. What I've been trying to do is be like real with it. Like, I'm not having a great today. Why? Like, am I tired? Did I get enough sleep? Am I
Sure.
sleeping well? Did I eat well? What did I eat last night? Like, am I taking care of myself? Like, I don't know what I put myself into a different mindset to where I try to find out why I'm having a bad day, and maybe there's something that I can do to change that, or what's something that I do that normally makes my day. Maybe I
Right.
could try to incorporate that in my day sometime, and maybe that'll turn me back around. Like, maybe I'll go to the driving range. Usually when I go to the driving range, I feel pretty good afterwards. So maybe I'll make a point to do something today that makes me feel good when I know that I'm not feeling good.
Right.
To kind of help myself versus just doing nothing and expecting you to feel better.
Right. And sometimes those actions they're not going to pull you out of that feeling, and at the same time can we live in a little bit of duality where there's multiple realities where yes, you feel this way, and at the same time look at what you're doing to still be on this planet and
Oh, the big
give to
picture.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You could always be positive about the bigger picture, and I think that that's huge to bring up because even when you're having a bad day, like a lot of good things could still be going on in your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like necessarily like something that messes with your trajectory so much. But I get what you're saying though too, is living in that multiple reality was like, yeah, this one little thing made me feel bad, which I can work on, or I can maybe try to counterbalance it. But like overall, like the big picture, like you were saying, like in the scale of the universe, like you might not be doing so bad. You might just be having a bad day.
Right. And I definitely don't want to discredit, as we're talking, I think about people who've felt this way for a long time. And I definitely don't want to discredit that this is like a thinking error and that you've thought yourself into this place. However, the thinking and the way that you manage and navigate the way you feel then impacts that feeling more. So it's if you are someone who experiences chronic depression or chronic suicidality, there are things you can do for it while also not discrediting that's how you feel.
Oh, absolutely. And we talk a lot about on the show about taking care of yourself just on like a number of different like basic levels, like making
Hmm.
sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're drinking enough water,
Yeah.
making sure that you're eating healthy and you have a diverse diet that incorporates a bunch of different types of like healthy foods. Obviously, if you're experiencing chronic depression or these types of thoughts over a long period of time, the best thing to do is get with a professional, see a doctor, and depending on how serious that is, might even calling 911 in certain situations. But and I want to be clear about that that's always the best course when you are having these types of thoughts, especially over a long period of time. But what I will say is I'm so excited that Ashley was here today, and this has been absolutely wonderful, and I'd like you to come on season 2 as well.
Well, thank you.
I just love everything about what you're doing, and I think on the behalf of the community, I want to thank you for all the good work that you're doing. And we'll start with some Hive stuff, or we'll leave today with some Hive stuff. If you'd like to find out more about what we do here, you can reach us at boisehive.org. We also have a YouTube channel. You can search Boise Hive. We have a Spotify channel, which is called Boise Hive Sessions, which is a collaboration of a bunch of rad music that was recorded right here within the Hive. And we have a telephone number, 208-344-4994. You can also, if you are experiencing any type of suicidal thoughts or in a crisis, you could always call the national hotline at 988. This is Nino. I'm here with Alex and Ashley at the Boise Hive podcast. This has been wonderful. Let's go!
All right, and playing us out today, we got a feature from the band Blood Lemon. The song is called Burn.